I'm Brandy Jenkins with the Heather Murphy Group at Keller Williams, buyer specialist.
And I'm Michael Caputo with First Coast Mortgage here in Savannah.
We're going to discuss buyer incentives with new construction and how they will affect you, positive and negatively.
What are the most common types of incentive builders offer?
So right now, what we've seen, pre-COVID, the incentive really was, we'll give you blinds and a refrigerator and maybe a washer and a dryer, and they were putting in fences. After COVID and after the rates have, kind of climbed from the threes, it's more of a rate incentive. And that's where you really have to put your thinking cap on, because are you long-term in this house, or are you, here 2 to 4 years? So if it's a rate incentive, a lot of the builders have the option of, you can take this 3.99 rate and the purchase price is $400,000, or the purchase price can be $350 and you're going to take market rate. And so that really, you have to sit back and you have to sit in that and think about what that means for you long term, because that's where you'll get in trouble if you take, the rate and you have the higher purchase price, and then your friend takes the opposite of that. So you have 2 homes, same floor plan, same everything. One's priced at $350 and one's priced at $400. And in 2 years, you both go to sell. Who's going to sell? The house at $350. The house at $400 is not going to sell because the $350 buyer has sold before you, and you're going to have a problem with your appraisal.
And that's the hard part, is not knowing where rates are going to be in the future. If, home values, normal home values, 2 to 3% appreciation a year, a lot of times people will look back at COVID and say, well, gosh, I want my home to go up 20-25% every year. And I would be great to have a 2.5% mortgage again. So I think for the most part, we're seeing a lot of that mindset go away. But I think it's a good point. You have to look and say, how long am I going to be in the house? Because you could definitely find yourself in an equity situation if you're forced to sell too soon, because of course your low fixed rate may not carry over to the new buyer. Now certain loans are assumable, and that's a whole nother conversation, but I think it's important with any house, how long am I going to be there? But in new construction, you definitely, because in reality, you're competing against the builder for however long it's going to take them to finish the phase. So shorter term stays in new construction is definitely something we're talking through with your agent about.
In what situations should buyer be cautious about accepting incentives that seem attractive up front?
In a situation where this isn't going to be your forever home, it's your starter home, it's one of the first 2 to 3 phases in a 6-phase community, you need to be very mindful of that, because when you go to sell, you're going to be competing with the builder and whatever incentives they have at that moment. And then you're going to be competing with other people that have sold that maybe had a different incentive than you. So it's really worth just kind of like reviewing those with the lender. And then that's also going to, is it the builder lender? A lot of times your incentive is tied to having to use the builder lender. So you have to kind of put your thinking cap on with that one, because you're using the builder's lender who's protecting the builder, they're representing you, but they may not run through that scenario if you don't bring it up.
How do builder incentives impact the resale value of a home in the future?
So your builder incentive is going to impact your resale value depending on what the incentive is. I mean, if the incentive is, we're adding a fence to the houses, that's a positive impact. You don't have to add that fence, and everybody wants a fence for pets and kids. So that's a positive impact. If it is a rate that gives you a lower mortgage, then they don't have that anymore, and you're having to sell against a higher rate with a higher mortgage, then it can impact you negatively.
Yeah, back to, where will rates be when you're trying to sell? What will the economy be like? How strong will the market be? So most people think in terms of what feels good now. And it seems a little backwards, but sometimes we like to talk about that exit strategy before somebody even purchases, because again, how long will you be here? Are you going to need a smaller house because 3 kids are going to go off to school in the next 4 years? So there's definitely short-term needs versus long-term needs. And when it comes to builders' incentives as it relates to financing, there are temporary buy downs, which can help the first 1 to 3 years, and then there's permanent buy down. So again, everybody has a little bit of a different situation. We just want to make sure that people understand their options and how it impacts them now versus 3 years versus 10 years down the road.
And I think that the conversation a lot of times when buyers reach out is on rate. One of the first questions they ask is, what's today's rate? Well, it is subjective. It's subjective to your credit score, your debt to income. So we immediately try to connect you with a local lender. And if you're completely rate focused, then that builder incentive on the rate is obviously going to be what sparkles in your eye. But a lot of times you're not thinking long term on that. And so it's just like rate consciousness of, oh, I got to have a 5% rate because that's just what my brain says and what CNN says. But you do have to have that strategy of what's your exit plan. Are you here 2 years, 4 years, 10 years? Can you stay in this house for 10 years? You don't know. Life happens.
How should buyers weigh the value of incentives versus negotiating for a lower purchase price?
Sometimes it's right to put on your thinking cap. If a builder is going to contribute 7% of the sales price towards a rate reduction versus taking a 7% reduction in the sales price, the rate reduction would have a much bigger impact on the payment, right? So we're often inclined to think, lower rate is good, lower price is good. Well, if someone, third party like builder or a seller, is going to make a contribution, buying down the rate is going to have a bigger impact on the payment. And for most people, the payment is the most important thing. But I think the point we've tried to make before is the price at which you are buying. If you are just going to be there for a short period of time, the price or the amount that you owe is going to come into play more so than the rate that you have for the next seller.
And that's all market depending because, Michael's been in this long as I have, so 20 plus years, and we've seen the market go up and down in pricing. And so, the same subdivisions that are being built in certain counties like Effingham County, they were building in those counties in 2006 where the base price was $150. Well, now there's a new phase and the base price is $350. And so you have to also look at the neighborhoods that you're in and when they started, if they're all cohesive in when they were being built, because that's where the pricing sometimes can really differ within a community on a resale. And so the incentives sometimes, they look more lucrative, but if you're reselling against a complete gut and remodel that was built in 2006, some people want that floor plan more so because it's a different era.
How do builder offered rate buydowns compare to traditional lender offered buydowns?
So buydowns are something that have always existed. This is not a new financial product that has only come out in the last 2 years. But when the prevailing rate was 2.5%, 3%, it wasn't really much of a conversation because we were already there at the bottom. So where it became a part of almost every conversation is when rates went from 3% to 7.5%. So sales prices rose during COVID and interest rates rose as inflation did. So it comes back to affordability. The interest rate buy down is a way for a seller or builder to help manage the current affordability, right? So the seller would prefer not to have to contribute to those types of costs, but if it helps them sell the home quicker, that's as important to them as well. So how much they have to contribute depends a lot on the strength of the market, how much demand there is for buyers in a given area. So it's a tool that can be used, and both existing sellers and builders will use that as needed so they can continue to move product.
We're seeing that more, the rate buy down with resale right now too. So it's not just a builder new construction option. It's always been an option. I did a rate buy down on my property and I purchased it pre-COVID. So it's always been an option that's out there, and it's just a form of closing cost. It's a form of a sell credit. So you can still negotiate that on a resale property. It doesn't have to be construction.